Hello, I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Today I Found Out, and in the video today it's obviously something a bit different. We like to try new things on this channel, and this is a format we're kind of experimenting with, but just before I get into what that format is, I would like to tell you about iFixit, because this episode, well, it's brought to you by iFixit. It's a free online repair manual for everyone that is written by everyone. Before you start your next DIY repair, please head over to ifixit.com/brainfood and check out iFixit's high quality parts, tools, and thousands of free repair guides. So let me quickly tell you a little bit more about this format that we're trying. In this episode, I actually interview someone for some research that we include in this video. You're about to see all this in a minute. I'm sorry that we don't have any video of the interview itself. We've kind of had to use placeholder images. I really wanted to do this, but the internet, it just wasn't up to it, and it was just cutting in and out, so I actually ended up phoning Bob back, the guy who we do the interview with, on a landline, so I apologize if the quality is not top-notch on the interview, but everything can be seen, everything can be heard, at least. Also, if you want to listen to the full interview with Bob, I will link to that in the description below. It's a separate video because it's a bit long, and I just, if you really like this video, go check that out afterwards, link in the description. Alright, so in 1983, Paul Mockapetris proposed a distributed databases of internet name and address pairs. This is now known as the Domain Name System, or DNS. This is essentially a distributed phone book which links a domain's name to its address, allowing you to type in something like todayifoundout.com, our companion website, which you should definitely visit, by the way, instead of the IP address of the website, which just really wouldn't be convenient. This distributed version of the system allowed for a decentralized approach to this phone book. Previous to this, a central hosts.txt file, it was maintained at the Stanford Research Institute, and that could be downloaded and used by other systems. Even by 1983, this was already becoming a problem to maintain, which ultimately led to this domain name system. In these Wild West days of the internet, when domain names first began to be registered for commercial use, with symbolics.com kicking things off when it was registered to Symbolics Computer Corp on March the 15th, 1985, few people really had any idea how big the internet was going to be in the coming decades. As a result of this, the value of domain names was underestimated to a pretty comical degree. Examples of domain names that were snapped up in the halcyon days of the 1990s by savvy internet denizens include beer.com, which was ultimately sold in 2004 for $7 million, hotel.com, which was sold in 2011 for $11 million, and of course, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention sex.com, which was so highly sought after that a guy engaged in an Ocean's 11-style caper to steal it. He was actually successful and began earning millions per year running ads on the landing page for the site before ultimately being forced to flee to Mexico 5 years later when he was ordered to pay $67 million to the original owner, Gary Kreeman, who interestingly is the founder of Match.com. And also interestingly, Kreeman stated that he first felt Match.com was a success when his girlfriend left him for a guy that she met on Match.com. Now, companies in the early 1990s, they were pretty ignorant of the internet as a whole, let alone its potential as a tool for advertising, sales, and PR. This was so much the case that by the latter part of 1993, about only half of all Fortune 500 companies had registered their own name online. In fact, in October of 1993, there were only about 200 worldwide web servers online, though other protocols for dealing with files on the internet, like Gopher and Wide Area Information Servers, were relatively prevalent. Companies, they did start to cotton onto the value of domain names and the internet in the latter days of 1994, when a writer for Wired magazine called Joshua Quittner registered McDonald's.com, and in a fascinating time capsule of an article, jokingly mentioned he might try to sell McDonald's.com to Burger King. Before registering the domain, Quittner repeatedly reached out to McDonald's to politely inform them that the domain was available and they needed to grab it quickly before someone else did. At Quittner's urging, Jane Hulbert of McDonald's Media Relations discussed the matter with higher-ups in the company. The result of this? Well, Hulbert stated her superior's reaction to her queries about McDonald's plans concerning the internet and the McDonald's domain name was, "No one seems to know anything about the internet." As noted, Quittner ultimately decided just to register McDonald's.com himself, even though it wasn't yet clear from a legal standpoint if this constituted trademark infringement or not. This was something that at the time was still being fleshed out in court. He eventually gave this domain to McDonald's for free because they provided free high-speed internet to a public school in Brooklyn. Quittner likewise reached out to Burger King, encouraging them to register BurgerKing.com before someone else did. He stated Burger King's initial response when he mentioned the internet was, "Is that some kind of information thing, like Prodigy. While many companies were certainly more aware of the value of domains after this expose, examples of domain grabbing and corporate blundering continued to occur for many years afterwards. Interestingly, these blunders were even being made by the tech giants of the age. Well, this all brings us to Windows2000.com. This was initially registered in 1996 by the hero of our story, Bob Kirstein. Bob also at one time or another owned Broadband.com, Dividend.com, Englishman.com, and Streetmap.com, among numerous other prime domains. When I recently discussed this with him, Kirstein told us,
"What happened is that I wanted to come up with a website that, had live cams on the internet. I always felt like live cams were really cool and they were going to take off and it was going to be the new thing. So I thought, and I thought Windows would be a great way to say, okay, let your computer serve as a window looking at different places around the world on the internet. Windows was already taken by Microsoft. Then I think at that time they had Windows 95. So I said, I'm going to look ahead and get Windows 2000, but not tie it into anything related to software, just make it into live cameras. So I did that. And then I got that, I think I got around 1996 or maybe 97. And then all of a sudden they decided that their new product after Windows 98 was going to be Windows 2000. And then shit hit the fan. Because everybody thought I was going to sue Microsoft, and I had the name. And what I had was a common law trademark, but that doesn't mean that no one else can use it. They just can't use it for that same purpose.
Despite everyone from CNN to his friends speculating that Kirstein would sue Microsoft, he actually had no interest in doing that. However, Kirstein was well aware of the fact that any domain with a date on it was ultimately going to be worthless, and Microsoft's choice in product name provided him a unique opportunity for a potentially lucrative sale.
They really weren't pursuing that with me. They just said, okay, we sort of came to a standstill agreement. I talked to their people, and I said, I'm not going to go after you. And they said, well, we're not going after you. I said, fine. But I was hoping to do something. And then they didn't do anything. So I waited about a year, and nothing's happening. So then I called up the contact I had at Microsoft. By the way, I'm going to put this up for sale on an auction site. I just wanted to give you the heads up. So then I started getting legal letters and things like this, and you can't do that, and blah, blah, blah.
After Kirstein pointed out to their lawyers that he legally held the trademark in question and was fully within his rights to sell the domain, he notes,
then we ended up, entering into a negotiation.
As per the agreement Kirstein signed with Microsoft, he's not allowed to reveal what they paid him for Windows2000.com, but
it was a purchase price, and they gave me some software, because I wanted software. I don't know why. And then but they wouldn't budge on the price. I mean, it wasn't as much as you would have thought it would be. It wasn't bad though, but it wasn't, life changing. And they basically said that this is all we're going to go. And then I realized they had Bob.com, so I called up contact there who I was negotiating with, and I said, I'll tell you what, if you guys can throw in Bob.com into the mix, we got, and into, what they paid me and what the software was, you throw in Bob.com, we got a deal. He says, let me get back to you tomorrow. Talked to them, to the powers that be overnight, and they said, fine, we got it. Signed it up getting Bob.com. That's I got it.
For anyone curious why Microsoft owned Bob.com, this was registered as part of an ill-fated multimedia campaign in order to promote an almost hysterically unsuccessful piece of software called Microsoft Bob. The software initially was conceived as a more user-friendly interface in order to supplant the normal Windows Program Manager for novice users. In essence, Microsoft Bob's interface comprised of a virtual house with various rooms, and there were items in the house which could be clicked on with different objects representing different applications. For instance, if you clicked on a calendar in the room, the calendar application would open. If you click on a pen and paper, a word processor would open, etc. Microsoft Bob impressively also came with a built-in email client that allowed users to send 15 emails per month for a monthly fee of just $5, and then it was only 45 cents for every email after that. Oh, and by the way, these emails were also limited to only 5,000 characters. If you're interested in learning more about email, well, check out our video, Who Invented Email? You'll find a link in the description below. So, fully customizable, the interface allowed users to redecorate or even redesign the house layout. It also included cartoon characters to help users out, such as a peppy little puppy named Rover. Needless to say, Microsoft Bob was a catastrophic failure, and within only half a year of its debut, it was discontinued. PC World magazine later named it the 7th worst tech product of all time, and CNET went so far as to dub it the worst product of the 1990s. But Microsoft Bob's influence, it didn't stop here. The oft-lamented Comic Sans font was also created as a direct result of Bob. Microsoft designer Vincent Kenner saw a beta of Bob which used Times New Roman in speech bubbles. He didn't like this at all and was inspired to come up with a new font for the program, drawing from lettering in the comics The Dark Knight Returns and Watchmen, which he had in his office at the time. Comic Sans, so sadly, wasn't ready for Microsoft Bob's release, but it found its way into other Microsoft products, much to the chagrin of many. In any event, as Microsoft wasn't using Bob.com anymore and Kirstein's first name is Bob, he noted,
I remember saying to the guy I was negotiating with, I said, you have a domain name I want, a domain name you want, let's put this all together and do the deal.
And, well, as noted, they accepted. Today, Bob.com is still fully functional all these years later. Previous to our publishing of the original article version that this video is based on, Bob seemingly hadn't updated how the site looked since he took it over, lacking only a few more animated GIFs and a page view counter to perfectly capture that quintessential late 1990s website look. We're slightly sad to report, however, that since then, Bob has updated the site to a more modern look, which, well, we understand why he did that, but we miss the nostalgia of the old version. Even more fittingly, for a site that gives a little snapshot into the early days of the internet, Kirstein presently uses Bob.com to promote the sale of old stock and bond certificates, a hobby he started after encountering Confederate bonds, and he began to ponder the history behind the certificates. I realized the paper was a part of the fabric of US and financial history. Turning a hobby into a web business was a natural extension of his other hobby, domain name collecting. As for Windows2000.com, it's no longer active, other than showing an ad-based landing page, and according to Whois, the domain doesn't appear to be owned by Microsoft anymore. Alright, so I really hope you enjoyed that video and the format. Let me know what you think of it in the comments below. And just before you go, I'd love to tell you about iFixit. iFixit are a website where they teach people how to fix things. Name kind of gives it away, right? Well, they are always posting new repair videos and teardowns of popular devices. There's the S8, the iPhone, the Switch. Speaking of my S8, which isn't within hand's reach, has a smash panel. I should totally get on this. iFixit, perfect for that. They have more than 25,000 videos on their site. It's ifixit.com/brainfood. They also have a ProTech toolkit, which is suitable for all sorts of electronics repair, whether you are an expert or a beginner. All of the parts in this kit, they're super high quality, they're all meticulously designed, and they can handle pretty much any sort of electronic repair. Plus, it's easy to store, it rolls up nicely, and only $59.95. This kit includes a 64-bit driver, and it's got those magnetic things so you can really deal with those tricky screws. Plus, it contains all of those little squeezers and picks and pulls and all of those bits and pieces for repairing devices that manufacturers, Apple, seem to want to make it hard for you to repair. Again, it's only $59.95 and it's got a lifetime warranty. If you want to tackle your next DIY project or repair with the ProTech toolkit, please visit ifixit.com/brainfood and you can get the fully loaded ProTech toolkit for only $59.95. And thank you to iFixit for the sponsorship.